Welcome to another episode of Expected Buffalo, the podcast. We are brought to you by One Pie Pizza, onepiepizza.com, located at 2185 Clinton Street, open daily from 9 to 8. And Hiller and Comerford, hillercomerford.com, 1866 Hiller Law for your local personal injury and disability go-to. All right, we are on the eve of the NHL season resuming, finally. I think we all need NHL hockey back in our lives. I know I do. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a almost kind of literally every other night type of game here over the last 25. So a lot of podcasts, a lot of content, a lot of talking, a lot of hockey. Playoff push, different feel than the past how many ever years I've been doing this, outside of the 1 year, 2022-23. But this time it's more real than that even, in the driver's seat pulling away, if you will, on the playoff race here for the Sabres as we kick things back up tomorrow. We're going to be a little bit shorter in this one today. As you can probably tell with my voice and the sniffles you're going to hear, I'm going to try to keep away, battling a little bit of a cold. But offering episode, get about 15-20 minutes in here, just so I can hopefully get recovered by the weekend over the next few days, so we can get a little bit of a longer episode in, but nothing wrong with these. A little bit of a quick hitter, touch on a few topics, get in and out. So that's what we'll do. I'm definitely feeling better than the last few days, but probably just because I'm a baby when it comes to cold. That's how it is for most men, right? You just kind of you're a baby. Man colds, right? That's what they call them. All right. Anyways, focusing back into the hockey here. Like I said, we are back tomorrow. The Sabres are in New Jersey to resume things. They will take on Golden Goal winner Jack Hughes tomorrow. We'll see if both Hughes and Tage. I think they'll make it to Newark by tomorrow. If either or both will be in the lineup remains to be seen. So I guess we'll find that out tomorrow. It's definitely not an easy way to get things going, that's for sure. New Jersey you would think is a winnable game. Second last team in the Eastern Conference. You should be able to go in there and win that game. But then you go do the Florida trip again. You just did, basically to wrap up the schedule before the Olympic break. So Florida on Friday, Tampa Bay on Saturday, because of course Tampa Bay always gets the second game of a back-to-back while they're rested. Why not let the Lightning have that? So, I think you're looking at, 4 out of 6 would be good, is maybe what your expectation is, especially with Florida being beat up and where they are, and we'll see about how injured some of those guys are. That'll remains to be seen. 5 out of 6 is excellent. And then, if you get 6 out of 6, that's, of course, amazing. So 4 out of 6 I'll take. I know that it's going to be difficult in that back-to-back in Tampa. They did it last time, so no reason they can't do it again. But Tampa will be a little bit healthier this time. Braden Point will be back. But still, get your points where you can get them, cross them off the list, whatever. Work your way towards that magic number of 98 to 100 points to pretty much solidify yourself in the playoffs and be more of a seeding battle than trying to hold off the wild card team. That's what my focus is here. I really don't want to stress about being run down from behind in the wild card race. I'd rather just stress about that second and third place spot in the division. So let's try to do that. On the bad news side, of course, before we get into the good news side of things, is Benson still not ready to go. Won't make this trip, Lindy Ruff said. So hopefully on March 3rd, I think it is, when they're back home again, hosting Jack Eichel and the Vegas Golden Knights, he can return to the lineup then. We'll look forward to that. And, it's tough because this isn't a team that wins a lot of games or plays well with Benson not in the lineup. You would hope that he's not, they don't rely on him that much. But it's an important piece. I think he solidifies their lineup throughout 3 lines. Not having him in there takes an important piece. of him out of that lineup from a forechecking standpoint, from a playmaking standpoint at 5-on-5. I think from a defensive standpoint too. So not having that player in your lineup is certainly impactful. Gets under the other team's skin, energy guy, glue guy, all of those things. So it checks out. It makes sense that he's, miss when he's not in the lineup. So they'll have to get through these 3 games without him. Hopefully he's back after that and ready to go through the rest of March and into April. But on the good news side, Josh Norris is going to be back. How long that remains to be seen, whether it's 5 games, 1 game, or 25 plus, include the playoffs. We'll see. If he could stay on the ice, that would be fantastic. I think we would enjoy that, but it's difficult to bank on that with the way things have gone this season. And then if you look at his past, of course. But I mean, it's a good thing getting him back. Let's not sugarcoat it. I think he will help them. I think he's had some time here to really get 100% healthy, you would hope, so he can get back to being the player we've seen at times, using his speed, being impactful offensively. So that's always a good thing to get back when healthy, top 6 centerman. Should make them deeper throughout their lineup. So those are good things. And I'm really curious to see that Ostlund-Norris Doan line. Norris and Ostlund have looked pretty good when they played together. Now the other winger has been kind of a rotation, but I think that fits. I think you have a really good mix of skill set with Ostlund and Norris and Doan. We'll see in New Jersey if Tage plays or not, if they, that stays. But still, I hope they give that a look, because I think that's a really nice mashing of skill sets that you have there. And it really, again, I kind of keep coming back to it. When they're fully healthy at forward, it solidifies you throughout 3 lines. You have that Tage line at the top, and hopefully Benson is back there when he's healthy. And then you would have the Norris line, and then you have your McLeod line. And then your 4th line, whatever kind of mix you put together with Josh Dunn being back and Mellenstein, Justin Danforth when he gets back here. I don't think he's as close maybe as they were hoping. Last I heard, he was getting injections in his knee still over the break. So that doesn't sound encouraging. Like he'll be back in the near future, but we'll see how that plays out. All those things. I think you have the opportunity to stay healthy, to have a really deep lineup. And then, of course, any moves that they make over the next week, which we'll get into at the end here, would only add to that, depending on the route that they go. The other player that's going to be back is Luukkonen. He suffered that knee injury just before the break. He is cleared to go. I would anticipate him playing on Wednesday, but now I don't know that. Maybe Lyon starts. Either way, 3 games in 4 nights. He's getting 1 or 2 of these games. So we'll see how they break up the schedule here. All 3 goaltenders at the moment are healthy. And I would anticipate Luukkonen and Lyon play the majority of the games here over the next 25 if everybody stays healthy and playing well. And maybe you see Ellis creep into a game or 2 if they really hit a pretty good stretch of games and they want to give both guys, a night off, and maybe they're in a decent spot in the standings that they can afford to do that. It's like any Ellis game is an automatic loss by any means. He's an adventure when he's in there. Not always bad. There's some good adventures that he puts out there, but he's certainly one of the up and down goaltenders on this team in Ellis. But they're going to have all 3. They'll roll through that. I would anticipate them keeping all 3 goaltenders. The roster limits go away next week after the deadline. The only thing that you have to be compliant is at the cap at that point. So you can have 23 guys, you could have 30 as long as you're cap compliant. So dealing with the 3rd goaltender occupying a roster spot isn't going to be that relevant once we get through next Friday. The other interesting tidbit that was announced today is Anton Wahlberg was recalled from the Amerks. Surprising that it's not Rosine or Hellenius. The Hellenius part, you can look at maybe they're trying to avoid him playing that game to burn the year of potential level contract. I think that's kind of silly, to be honest, if that's the sole reason. I don't think we need to play in that world by any means. If you burn the year of his contract, so be it. But sure, fine, okay. It's likely that Wahlberg, again, depending on Tage playing Wednesday or not, doesn't get into these games. But if he does, it also kind of makes sense for where he would go in the lineup, looking in the fourth line. I think that's where he fits prototypically in the NHL in terms of his ceiling and is the type of player that he is. Is a bigger kid. So, we've seen a lot of these undersized, prospects at forward in the Sabres group. Wahlberg isn't that. He's a little bit bigger. He's got some meat on him. I think he's played a better two-way game this year. Now, admittedly, I haven't followed the Amerks as closely over the last couple of weeks when a lot of these guys were injured or most players were called up. So, I haven't had that great of a look at him over the last couple of weeks. But when I did watch him, there was, if you remember before the season, I talked about, I thought there were times he would disappear in a game. Didn't look as engaged when he didn't have the puck, and those were concerns for me going into the season. I think that has gone away for the most part. And there's still those moments, but he's on the younger side. I think he's 19 or 20, I want to say. So that happens, and you kind of deal with that as you go here. But I think he's been more engaged this year. I think away from the puck, he's been better. He graded out in our tracking that we do for the Amerks as one of the better forechecking forwards, one of the better disruption forwards defensively. So those are all things that they probably look for and were thinking about if he did have to get into the lineup. They can put him on the fourth line and he can fit right in, play that forechecking style, that dump and chase game that he plays. He's not really that much of a puck carrier. I think he was more of that when he first got to the AHL, but now adjusted his game a little bit that, he's more of the forechecking style, using his body, getting in on pucks, and finding a way to be effective in that regard. So, while it's surprising they didn't go with one of the other two, I think it makes sense from where he would step into the lineup if he did play. As more of a fourth line role in what he'll be asked to do and probably the limited minutes that he would see. So, yeah, it all checks out. And I'm curious, nothing wrong with giving somebody else an opportunity to get an NHL paycheck, to be around the NHL, especially a young player like that, to kind of give him a small taste and then send them back down to the Amerks for their playoff push that they themselves are in right now. So, yeah, we'll see. I guess I don't anticipate him getting any games unless they have a couple guys not ready to play on Wednesday, or not God, hope that doesn't happen. If there are any injuries over the next couple days, that he then will get into the lineup that way. Yeah, he was one of my favorite prospects. In the past, I soured on him over last summer. But I'm curious to see if he does get in, how he looks, and then what he does with that when he goes back to the AHL eventually. So, yeah, big week. You want to start strong out of the gate. You don't want any doubt to creep in, for sure, right? You get a win in New Jersey, split in Florida if that's what you have to do, or win and get an overtime loss or whatever. Do what you got to do to get your points. Because really right now we're just in a chase for points. You just want to keep stacking points on the board. You're not so much worried about what's happening behind you as long as you keep stacking your points and get to where you need to get. What happens behind you in the standings is irrelevant as long as you do your job. And that's kind of all you want, right? With 25 games left in the season, you want everything to be up to you. And that's what they've built themselves up to have right now. They are in the driver's seat in control with a cushion. And then if you do well here on this 3-game road trip to open up the last quarter of the season pretty much, your next 6 of the next 7 games are at home. So that is really an opportunity to kind of stack your points, stack your wins, have a good trip here, get home, get your wins, get your points. By no means is it going to be easy. The remaining schedule, and we look at it in terms of opponents, is difficult. I think on the road, their opponent point percentage when I did it was 600, and at home the point percentage is a .590. So they're playing some good teams, but this is a good team too, and it's kind of what I said at the last when this ended, and they lost to the Penguins before the break. Is 70-point team, one of the top 5 teams in the standings, or top 6 in the Eastern Conference. 56 games into the season. It's not some sort of mirage here we're looking at. This is a good hockey team. They're a good team. They just got to keep going, do what they got to do, and then they will snap the longest playoff drought in the NHL. And then we can talk about playoff games and all the fun stuff that comes along with that. But we'll save that. We're not there yet. So yeah, my throat's starting to get to me here. So I think we'll put a bow on it for today. The hope is to be back tomorrow with a post-game show, as long as everything goes well from a health standpoint. And yeah, excited to have hockey back. Thanks for listening, and let's get back into that grind and have a little fun. Some stress, I'm sure, but hopefully, it'll be fun for everybody. All right, talk to you tomorrow. See ya.